we moved many times when I was growing up, but I remember when I was 12 years old, it was a big, big move. And we moved to a new school in the middle of the year.
Oh, God.
Here I am, like first year middle school, something like that. Or second year. I think I was in seventh grade, in the middle of the year. And I get to this new school. And of course, there's all the cliques. Everyone's like, and finally one day this girl comes up to me and she's like, do you want to be my friend? And I was like, okay. So I was friends with her. Her name was Karen Kong. And then she had another friend, this guy, and the three of us started hanging out together. And we were like the misfits. We were like, I started to realize over time, we were like the ones who really just no one wanted.
Yes.
And then I found out within a few days, somebody came up to me and they were like, you're friends with Karen Kong? She's crazy. And I was like, why? They were like, she stabbed a boy with a compass. I don't know what he did, but she literally stabbed him.
Well, he probably deserved it.
I don't think that they probably were like, oh, let's just put a Band-Aid on it and let's maybe call the parents. Like,
and
Karen Kong, and I think it was Spencer Callahan, and we were like the misfit trio. But my dance friends were really they were my community. So I had Karen Kong and I had Spencer Callahan. School. And then I had my dance friend.
And she got your back.
Yeah. No one's going to mess with you.
She had my back. I had Karen Kong as my best friend.
Oh my God.
She would protect me in a second if she's boy with a compass.
I love that.
Welcome back, Mama fans, to Cheryl Mann, Part 3. Cheryl opens up about embracing the joys of photographing her daughter's soccer games, embracing the unpredictability, and also takes us through her mother's extraordinary strength, their life-changing journeys, and the move that unexpectedly led her back to dance. What once felt like loss became the doorway to purpose. This episode is about transformation, how the hardest transitions can become the clearest turning points, how rejection can fuel direction, and how the right teacher at the right moment can alter our lives. If you've ever felt like you didn't quite belong or wondered how your path came to be, this conversation is going to stay with you. Let's dive in with Cheryl Mann.
On the flip side, when I shoot soccer, that is literally has to say that is my favorite thing, because the more the more mangled and the more, because the dance has to be like the height of the leap, the extension, the like effortlessness of it is another whole side of, what we do. But in soccer, the more like physical and like, messed up, the better the shot is. Like the energy of that is hard to recreate, because it's real, as opposed to like in dance, you're telling a story and it's something that you're acting, you're not really slamming your body into somebody else and falling on the ground. And, you've choreographed it. It's like they do it over and over and over the same way. But in soccer, nothing will ever be repeated the same way, which I love. I love that.
All those pictures on your Instagram of those. You took all of those of your daughter's soccer. I mean, those are great shots.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Is there one that's easier to shoot, or are they both just equally it's the effort you...
I think dance is easier to shoot, to be honest, which is crazy to say, because soccer is so unpredictable, and dance, I can predict what's going to happen. So I think I feel a little bit more in control when I'm shooting dance for the moments. And in soccer, I'm just like, kind of just have to guess what's going to happen. I'm also going back and forth between video and photography now. So I'm trying to guess when we get close that maybe we might score, and then I'll like click it over to video to try to capture them scoring goals. So I'm going back and forth a little, which adds a little bit of stress, but I'm not normally, I don't do anything with videography, but they've asked me to sort of try to get some clips for Instagram and things like that. So I've been moving into that. My sister is the one who's always been in the film.
Selena. So your sister, I watched the documentary where you were speaking about your career and your path. And I started crying this morning, just like listening.
Oh, Cherice.
Oh my God. Can you just share a little bit about that?
It's pretty unreal. I think about this all the time. I mean, I started dance when I was young, but I didn't really take it seriously until we had this life event where we moved from Knoxville, Tennessee to Orlando, Florida, because my dad got a job transfer and I was 11. And it was just like the hardest moment. I feel like one of the hardest moments I've still ever gone through. I remember like sitting in the corner in a crouch position in my empty room, bawling, having to get in the car and drive to Orlando and leave Orlando where my grandfather was. And my father, my parents met in the Vietnam War. So he's a soldier there and she was a singer, and he started a band while he was there during the war, and that's how they met. And when we came to the States, I was conceived in Saigon, but born in Knoxville, Tennessee. My brothers were both born in Saigon. So a year after he came to the States, he died. So my mom was on her own with us in Knoxville, and then she put herself in college for journalism, and she had kids and went to college. So that was crazy. I mean, she's tough. She's a tough cookie, my mom, and she wanted to make sure that she raised us to be Americans. She did not want us to learn Vietnamese. She made the choice to have a different life for us. And I still think about this I think about this all the time for my mom, that she never showed any weakness in anything that she ever did with us. Everything was like very strong. And I think that's amazing because she was so young. I mean, she was 25 when she had me. So new country, parents stayed in Belgium. Her sister, her brother went to Germany. So everyone was sort of everywhere, and they kept saying, you need to come back here. You need to come and bring your kids back here. And she just refused to do it. So I think that's pretty amazing. She met my father. He was a professor at UT where she was in school. She was doing a lot of refugee work, trying to find houses for refugees from the Philippines. So she was doing a lot of work, humanitarian work, while she was in school, while we were, with her at a young age. So it's crazy. Again, never saw any sort of weakness. My mom was just the strongest person in the world. She had a roommate that we lived with named Shaw. She was like our second mom. They were best friends, and they would have parties and they would listen to the Beatles, and I would come out of my room like, can you be quiet? I'm trying to sleep. They were young and having fun and like being in their 20s, and pretty crazy time. So when she met my dad, he ended up they got married when I was 9. And then when I was 11, he got a job transfer to University of Central Florida. So we moved to this weird place. And I was like, nobody lives in Orlando. Everybody just visits Orlando because of Disney. I'm like, why are we going to live there? And I just didn't understand it. And I didn't understand it. The only thing, and to that point, I still wanted to quit dance. I still wasn't interested in it. I still preferred baseball and track and my tomboy life. And when we moved, she took me around to a lot of different dance studios, and the one, I wasn't really interested in any of them. There were a lot of competition studios, and I had never done anything like that. But there was one studio that felt easy and small and comforting. Like I walked in and I didn't feel like I saw a million trophies and a bunch of colors and posters of like 100 girls, and I felt like there was a painting of like a ballerina, and it was very simple. So I ended up going there, and my dance teacher just sort of took me under her wing and exposed me to everything. I mean, she exposed me to Hubbard Street. When I was 14, she took me to a master class by Claire Bataille, who was the lead at Hubbard Street. She took me to other dance studios to take classes, as opposed to other dance studios that was like, you can only take here. It's like an exclusive thing. She wanted us to take with lots of different people in the city, which was nice to, open our eyes to the way that other people teach. And then when I was 13, I started taking jazz and tap and modern. And I was like, like literally something went off in my head as to like, I have to do this. And my friends at the studio, I was so much closer with than my friends at my elementary school that were just like you know, I had like these teeth were up here. I had cuspids. And the first day, this girl, Amy Cheek, was like, ew, you have fangs, you know, and it was not an easy transition in sixth grade to like go to a new school firsthand. And everyone was kind of preppy and wore esprit, and like the pink headbands matched the pink socks. And, you know, I still had all my brother's hand-me-downs, like scruffy. And I just did not fit into this world at all. When I went to dance, it's the only thing that felt familiar. Even though it was something that I sort of pushed aside, I went there and I was like on even playing ground because I had had some training. It wasn't great. I mean, they put me on point when I was 8, and I think my knuckles were like on the ground when I was on point, and my dance teacher's like, take the shoes off. We're not doing that right now. It's like she built up the strength in my feet to properly start point later. But I really do owe that my dance teacher, like my entire career, is because she took me to that one class. That was Hubbard Street. And I didn't even see them perform, but Claire taught a class where we took bar to like Talking Heads music, you know, and instead of like a porter bra like this, we were doing like this. We were doing like this stuff, like in a plie at the bar. I was like, what is happening right now? You know? So we did this bar and then we would go to center, and it was like this like slick, cool jazz combination. I was like, but it was so technical. And I was like, this is amazing. And whatever this is what I'm going to do. So that became my dream. And then after that, I started dancing at Disney when I was 17. And some of the show directors were teachers of mine that came and taught tap at our studio, and friends with my teacher's husband started Epcot. So, you know, I had this like nice path into the theme park world. It's the first time I learned how to smile on stage, and like,
wait, I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt this crazy flow. I have to catch my train to the city. I have to talk about it too. Keep going, Cheryl. I adore you.
So nice to talk to you.
Keep going. I love you both. I love you too. Thank you for this.
Love you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, Shelly. I love you.
She's great. Yeah.
When you talk about that first teacher that you had, my 12th year of high school, I took my RID exam, and everyone in my class passed except for me. I failed it. And I was devastated. I cried the whole night. The next day I went into the studio. I had to walk into the director's office and tell my teacher. I burst out crying, and she knew right away. So she hugged me. And in the meantime, Lambros Lambrou, who you might have known because he was the director of Ballet Austin for a while.
Yes.
At that time, Lambros was the resident choreographer of Alberta Ballet Company, and he worked with the school a lot. So he happened to be that day in the office. Okay. So I walk in, I'm crying. Deborah Morgan, she hugs me, I'm bawling, and he's sitting on the couch, leaning back. And he looks at me and he says, what's happening? And he was like, oh, you failed.
Oh no.
And I was in shock. And then he got up from the couch and he strolled over to me and he kissed the top of my head and he said, you know what that means? And I was like, what? And he said, that means you're going to be a dancer. That moment for me, I will never forget, because it's going to make me cry. But the next year I got offered a contract with the company. Like, I became a ballet dancer.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for him teaching me to not give up, I don't think that I would be where I am.
Yeah. If you don't have anything to fight for, if you're just handed everything, you don't have the same, you're not as grateful for it. Those are the lessons that are hard to understand in the moment. And we all have them.
What was it that you felt when you had to like fight for it? For you personally, when you had this transformation? Because I'm reading The Artist's Way because of...
I did that. That's why I went to photography, Jessica.
I did Artist's Way too.
Yes. It said, pick 10 things, do one. I was like, camera. Literally, that's how I started doing it. Like I always knew I liked to shoot, but that book was nuts.
And it talks about that transformation. And it's so interesting because you talk about the transformation you had going to Orlando. Mm-hmm. What do you think it was about that? Also in Chicago, when
That was a hard moment too. Yes. So that was a moment because I think had I stayed in Tennessee, I would never have danced. I would never have found the love for it or the passion or anyone that saw me the way that my teacher saw me in Orlando. And then in Chicago, when I first started auditioning for Hubbard Street, it was a no and a no and a no. And it was devastating. And the same thing happened that somebody was at Hubbard Street that I had worked with in college named Frank Chavez, who used to be a dancer in Hubbard Street, and saw my audition. He was looking through the little thing. Lou Conti brought the entire dance company into the studio, sat under the bars, and watched me audition. Me, the entire company, who I was super scared of, and the director, who was even more scared of, watched me audition for the first time. And it was really, really, really put me on a different level, sort of a different wavelength of like, this is serious. Like this is going to be serious. And he offered me a scholarship and I turned it down, and I was devastated because I didn't want to be stuck. I didn't want to be pigeonholed as a student. I wanted him to hire me as a dancer, as a company dancer. So I took the leap, to turn it down, and it was very scary because I, knew that I was going to live in Chicago anyway. I was going to keep trying and keep trying and keep coming back until, the end of time. Really, I put all my eggs in this basket and I was going to fight for it. So Frank saw me audition and was like, well, just come dance with us. And at the time he was with a different company called River North Dance Company. It's a jazz company. And it was super, super cool. I didn't really know of them at the time, but I had seen this television special when I was dancing at Disney in Florida, and it was about them. And I had missed the beginning, so I didn't know the name of the company, but I was just like glued to the television watching this company and this amazing piece that they did to a Eurythmics song called Sweet Dreams. And when I was auditioning for the company, that is the piece that they taught me. And it was the soloist that I was like enthralled with on stage. She was teaching me that piece, and I was like, oh, this is that piece. This is that. Like it all connected as to, I'm supposed to be here doing this right now. It's okay that I didn't get Hubbard Street. So I didn't get my dream right out of college. Who does, and then I would, for 3 years, kept auditioning. And the third year I had done a hair show for Clairol, and my hair was really short and they dyed it bright red. And that's the year I got into Hubbard Street.
Oh, that's so
I'm like, maybe I needed a little bit of an edge, I need to see a little something different. And then that
what's so funny
started my career.
When I was a dancer with Ballet Jazz, I was red for 10 years.
Yeah.
It was Edwin Zendejas. I remember he was my best friend when we were in the company, and he was like, Shelly, it would be really good red hair. And I was like, you think so? And he's like, I think it will look really good on you. And I dyed my hair red, and I became known in the company as the redhead.
Yeah.
It was so good for stage because it really picks up.
Absolutely. Gives you that edge. It gives you that little extra something. I was the third redhead at that time. He already had 2 redheads. So I was like, I guess we can't get enough of these redheads. I don't know. Claire had red hair. That's why. And I think Claire and Lou are, I think that he is drawn to that because of her.
Yeah. I do have one funny story to share. When I was 16 years old, the Alberta Ballet Company, one of the original founders wanted to recreate a ballet. And but they needed a younger dancer to play the lead as like the character. I can't remember. And I got cast.
Nice.
16, performing with the company in this huge theater in this world of this story ballet. What happens? Opening night in Calgary, my point shoe fell off.
What?
Yeah. I don't know.
How?
I sit up enough. I don't know what happened, but here I feel like the lace, like the ribbons were coming undone.
Yeah.
And the ribbons were coming undone.
Jeez.
At one point I kicked the shoe off, and so the ballet was just 1 point shoe, and it was in the reviews the next day.
Of course.
What did they say?
I think that they kind of joked about it, but they applauded me for continuing.
Yeah. Show must go on.
Yeah.
I love it.
See, it was a good thing.
I'm part of that all the time. I'm like, don't be embarrassed if you fall from a pirouette on stage because your mommy lost a shoe in front of thousands of people.
I used to love that at Disney when like a wig would fall off or something and people just in a wig cap like running off stage. Like there were some really funny moments. Definitely. Those are the moments I live for though, the mistakes, because that's what live dance can do. Like you'll never see that on a film. You'll never see that, you know, the live dance is where it happens. Like that's, and then what are you going to do?
Creative Mamas Unplugged is produced by Breatheasy Productions with music by Jeremy Jurin. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to give my mama 5 stars and keep coming back. Thanks to us kids, there are plenty of stories to tell. And you are not alone.
We are inspired by you. Thank you for joining our Creative Mamas community. Support Creative Mamas Unplugged on Patreon to get your name in the credits, receive extra content, and earn some fun prizes. With this, we can keep creating, uplifting, and growing this incredible community together. We love you so much. Applause.